Drunk History continues to be one of the funniest shows on Comedy Central, with Derek Waters listening to people who are completely hammered recount fascinating historical subjects, while they are also reenacted with some incredible feats of lip syncing. I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and Derek Waters joins us today. And the first question I want to ask is, from this past season, season 6, which story this season was the most fun to listen to?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Charlie. This is, it's great to see you. The most fun story to listen to, you put it great. I'm great at listening, and I love listening to all these stories and learning about stories that I had no idea. Lyric Lewis is an amazing comedian actress, and she taught me about the actual first queen of Egypt, Cleopatra's sister. And someone who doesn't really watch Lord of the Rings, I'm still interested in hearing someone talk about their passion. And she was so passionate about the Lord of the Rings, which is why we gave her this story, because it was like, oh, she's gonna make this like the most epic thing in the world. It's hard. I'm really bad with picking favorites, but that one, and Jackie Johnson, who taught me about Typhoid Mary, learning about, that was the first time I learned about quarantining. That was amazing. And learning about something so tragic, but also learning the valuable lessons of just wash your hands. And I love that. And then, but my favorite was Lawn Chair Larry, the story of a guy who had a dream to fly, and his eyes weren't that good, but to get into the Air Force, but he was determined to fly. And he flew some weather balloons on his lawn chair. And Colin Hanks played him, and Doug Jones told that story. And he's a great example of why I think the show still works, is you just can't stop. You can't stop listening to someone that's passionate, but when you have someone that can't stop smiling and laughing to the story because they love it so much, those are my favorite storytellers. And so those are 3 of my favorites.
How do you determine who will be the storytellers for the season? Because sometimes you'll see some people who recur a couple times throughout a season. Sometimes you'll see someone who maybe wasn't part, or who hasn't been there before. We saw that this year with John Lovett,
right?
Which was fantastic. How do you determine who will be the people that are telling stories?
Well, all the people in the show I already love, and for my own reasons, and then I find these stories that I love that I pitch to them. And I think, to answer the question best, is who would know, I asked myself, who would know this story the best? Who would actually have the most passionate, and whose voice would it be amazing hearing coming through these characters, that we're going to learn about, like Dr. Feelgood with John Lovett telling those stories of JFK, basically taking meth and learning about Dr. Feelgood. I just know his passion for politics, and I know he can put funny in anything. It's just who would I love to hear tell this story, and have a voice for,
Well, speaking of people that you would love to hear, do you have a kind of wish list of people that you would love to have drunkenly describe a historical event? Maybe even if they're not even thought of as a comedian, but someone who you would just love to hear drunkenly talk about that.
Well, not even drunkenly. I just think it would be amazing. I mean, I guess drunk would be right for the show, but Keith Morrison telling a drunk history is just something I've often dreamed of. Oh, it was dark. It was really fucking dark. Oh yeah. I don't know. I think of there also is a guy, he's really good on a show I love, the first 48, about the first 48 hours after a murder that's the most important time to find the suspect, and there's a guy who has a voice like this, and I was like, man, that'd be so cool to hear what that drunk version of that would be. And again, it's not like, oh, I just want to see how funny it is to see drunk people tell stories. It's like, no, I really do love these stories, but it's a comedy show. I can't. This would be on the History Channel if they're just telling you the story. So the humor of them being drunk, and also I call it frustrated passion, where that's some of my favorite kind of comedy, where someone's trying as hard as they can to tell you something that they really, really believe, but because of some reason they just can't articulate it the best. And that's why I've always liked doing the show, is watching frustrated passion.
Going back to what you were saying about the determining the storytellers, do you talk with the storytellers and let them come up with what they want to talk about, or is that something that you kind of sketch out beforehand before it goes to a storyteller? I'm curious how that works.
Yeah, one of our great executive producers, Greg Tugalescu, is the head of the research team. So there's a research team that has many stories to pitch Jeremy and I at the beginning of each season, and we kind of have an idea of stuff that we want to say, and I talk to narrators and ask them, like, are there any stories that you learned like in the past year that you would like to tell? And they kind of have to fit within the drunk history realm, which is like, it's like, I try to make them stories that either it's a person you know a lot about, but you don't know this one story, or something happened and someone else got credit for it, but here's the person that paved the way for all those people. Or it has to have that like underdog quality. And so yeah, I make sure the narrators know the stories, and they also, which is fun, have to tell it to Greg the day before we film, completely sober, to make sure they know the story before they're about to get drunk and forget it, which I learned the hard way of why you have to check on that, because yeah. I've learned everybody wants to tell a story. Everyone knows a lot about something very important. Or they'll tell you that, and then you sit down with them and they're drunk and they don't remember anything.
I'm curious. Have you ever reached out to any prominent historians, especially ones that have a good sense of humor? You know, I'm thinking like people like John Meacham and Doris Kearns Goodwin. About potentially doing a segment for the show?
I haven't, only because I don't know how that would go. You know, the closest that I have is my favorite, which is why I love history, is my high school teacher, Mr. Stang. I mean, when I was 15 and 16, I took his class, and I wanted to be friends with him so bad. And he just could teach history in a way where he was talking to me. And you know, when you have a good teacher, you feel like they're talking to you, even though you're in a classroom. And he would be able to somehow relate like the historical figure that we're learning about, or the moment in history, and then turn it into why the Orioles suck right now. And it was just always like, how did he do that? That was just so great. Because so this year, my tribute to my love for him and all teachers, we made a teacher appreciation episode where every narrator talks about the teacher that influenced them and kind of like inspired them. And then the end of the episode, Mr. Stang gets drunk and teaches me the story of the Whiskey Rebellion with Alexander Hamilton. And I got I found like an old school desk, and then I found my actual binder. I'm a hoarder. And I had Mr. Stang like look at some of my papers. And I got to ask him, was I a good student? Yeah. And I think I am now because I got him on the show, but I don't know if I was. And in class. But yeah, historian, he's my favorite historian. Yeah, so that was a dream come true.
Talking about the Emmys this year, which episode would you want to submit for Emmy consideration? Because they're all, I've been watching the season. There were a lot of good ones this year.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to which ones you think best demonstrate the best of the season.
Well, we submitted Bad Blood, which is the other Queen of Egypt with Aubrey Plaza and Justice Smith, and that also has the Bad Blood with Typhoid Mary, and that just is an episode where it just feels new. You know, every season it's just gotta go one step up, and that was our version of one step up of kind of an epic battle. And then another episode for me directing that I submitted is it was a parody of Ripley's Believe It or Not, called Derek Waters' Believe It or Not, and that includes Lawn Chair Larry with Colin Hanks, who he did fly. We had him fly. He was on a crane, and this little cable show is using the same crane as Transformers, and just watching Colin Hanks float up on this lawn chair was just like, yeah, man, I on top of like with a huge, like really wrinkled backdrop sky, like watching Colin Hanks fly up on this was just, it was the most fun. So yeah, those are the two episodes I'm most excited about that we submitted.
How high did you suspend Colin Hanks from that crane?
Well, I've always made a promise that I won't ask anyone to do anything that I haven't done. So I went up, and he went, I'd say probably like 30, 40 feet. It was fun. But what isn't fun is like the first moment where you're sitting in a lawn chair, and then all of a sudden, and you go up. And but I remember going, how the fuck am I getting away with this? I can't believe this is so cool that I get to do this. I have no idea how I got here.
So, I mean, you talked about how this, you've been doing this show for quite a while now, and even longer if you go back to the original, what was it, Funny or Die? YouTube, then Funny or Die, yeah, 2007. Yeah. Do you see yourself continuing to do this show for more years to come?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to do new stuff, but I still get excited for these stories. I still get excited to work with more people, and the production that we have, the crew that we have, like working with production designers like Monica Soto and our wardrobe department. They're all great, but Christina Mangini has been with us since day one, and I'm just surrounded by people that I just want to keep working with. You know, our DP Logan Schneider, like he makes it look like a damn film, you know, and it's like this is a little cable show, you know, but I still believe in the comedy of like this should always feel like almost like a community college is trying as hard as they can to make a history show. It's just not going that well, because of them being drunk. And it's always got to feel a little homemade. And I like to say, like, you still got to make it feel like that Waiting for Guffman, where their heart's in the right place. It's just missing a little bit, you know.
And as a graduate of community college, I wholeheartedly support that.
Me too. That's how it's fun. I went for one semester. You graduated?
I got my associates, yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek, so much for joining us today. We wish you all the best during this year's Emmy season.
Thank you.
To all our viewers, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to see all our latest content. And don't forget to go to goldderby.com and use the Gold Derby app to make your predictions and see if you can outsmart the top prognosticators in Hollywood. Thanks so much, Derek.
Thank you, Charlie.